In this year's spiritual class, I spoke about a naqsh, a talisman, known as the Heavenly Amulet or talisman. I also shared it on the internet and provided references from many of its authentic books. I cited all these references. What are its permanent references? What is its powerful influence? What is its perfection? I addressed all of them. Allah's creation has greatly benefited from this, not just today, but for the past 14 centuries. What is its effect? What are its advantages and perfections? This is a complete story. What are its benefits and influence? Even this naqsh is popular among the jinn. Those connected to the jinn say that in their view, this amulet is extremely powerful. The talisman possesses great power and influence. It is truly remarkable. The elders of the jinn advise and bequeath, never forget this heavenly amulet. Keep it with you for the benefit of your future generations. It holds countless benefits. There are certain things that human perception cannot fully grasp or observe. Some individuals come into this world and witness them, while beyond our consciousness exists a realm far greater than we can comprehend. It is the realm of Malakut, Jabrut, Lahut, and Nasut, a reality beyond our consciousness and perception. It surpasses our understanding. There exists a world known only to Allah, a world that my Allah knows, and it is as He wills. There is such a world, an unfathomable realm. What is the universe in that world? What secrets lie within it? What is life in that dimension? Clearly, we do not comprehend it. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was performing ablution. A man came and sat down by the river. As the river flowed, he positioned himself before it, thinking, "The water that flows from Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal will reach me." He believed that as a saint of Allah, a pious servant, the water that touched him carried blessings. When the water of his ablution reached the man, he felt honored and said, "I did nothing extraordinary. I only showed respect. I valued this moment so deeply that days and nights of my life have passed in its remembrance." The time came, and that person left this world. Someone asked, "What happened? What was your fate in the hereafter?" He replied, "Allah Almighty said, I only accepted one deed of yours. You showed respect to my beloved servant, that was enough." There was a time when Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was teaching. Among the students sat a young man, a seeker of knowledge. As the lesson continued, everyone's pens were moving, except his. His pen had dried out, and he grew anxious. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal noticed his concern and understood the reason. His ink had run out. The ink had run out. "How will I write?" he thought. "This is my teacher's lesson. What should I do?" There was no tape recorder to capture the words. He thought, "I'll memorize it and write it later." But then, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal noticed his concern and said, "Bring your pen here." Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal recited Surah Al-Fatiha aloud. It is recorded in books. He recited Surah Al-Fatiha, then placed a bit of saliva on the tip of the pen and pressed it gently. He handed it back and said, "Now check. If there is ink in it, don't call it my miracle. Say it is the miracle of Surah Al-Fatiha. Say the wonder lies in Surah Al-Fatiha." The student later testified, "For as long as my teacher was alive, my pen never ran dry. Even after his passing, as I grew old, the ink always flowed. I lived a long life, but my pen never dried." He left this world, but before departing, he gave an important piece of advice. He said, "Be careful. Do not touch this ink with an impure hand. Otherwise, its blessing will vanish. This is my advice to you. The saliva that came from my teacher's mouth, mixed with the effects of Surah Al-Fatiha, carried its blessing for generations. But one day, someone touched it with an impure hand, and the blessing disappeared. The ink dried up. This is Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Some matters belong to the realms of Malakut and Lahut. They are beyond our physical consciousness and understanding. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal had a student who never missed a lesson. Rain or shine, he was always present. One day, heavy rain poured down, just like it is raining today in Lahore. Everyone thought, surely that student won't come today. He was always punctual, always sitting at the front before the teacher arrived, an embodiment of discipline and devotion. But today, the road were muddy, the cold was biting, and the rain was relentless. Yet, he came, soaked to the bone. But what did he do? He took a mud pot, placed his books inside, and turned it upside down to protect them. His books remained dry, but he was drenched. This was the depth of his devotion, a true testament to his desire for knowledge. When the student arrived, drenched from head to toe, the teacher looked at him and asked, "What happened to your books?" The student carefully took them out and showed them, completely dry. The teacher was astonished. How did they remain dry? The student humbly replied, "I placed them inside a clay pot and carried them that way." The pot lay before the teacher. He looked at it and raised his hands in supplication. "O Allah, fill two things. Fill the pot of his chest with knowledge, and fill the clay pot with gold coins. May the blessings of Allah's pious servants continue forever." Time passed. The student continued to study, year after year, gaining knowledge until his departure. Before he left, he shook hands with the teacher, who reminded him, "Do you remember my dua or prayer for the pot all those years ago?" "Yes, teacher, I remember." The teacher said, "Never doubt it. When I prayed, I saw Allah's mercy and acceptance descending like light before my very eyes. These are unseen matters. You cannot acquire them simply by witnessing them." Then he said, "Go, and may Allah fill both of your pots." Years passed. One night the king had a strange dream. He sought its interpretation from many scholars, but none could satisfy him. Someone told him, "There is a student of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. He teaches children and keeps a clay pot with him at all times. I do not know why. He might be able to interpret your dream." The king summoned him, but with honor. "Do not bring him here like an ordinary man," he commanded. "Send a palanquin for him." When the royal envoys arrived, the student, now a scholar, said, "Bring my pot with you." Before the king, he held his pot close. The king asked, "What is this?" The scholar smiled and narrated his story, the stormy night, his devotion, his teacher's dua, and how one of those prayers had already come true. The king, deeply moved, ordered, "Fill this pot with gold, Ashrafi." Then he said, "As for the second prayer, to fill your heart with knowledge, that is beyond my power. Only Allah can grant that." But Allah's decree was already in motion. The power of his teacher's dua became evident, and the student was soon elevated to a position of immense influence. Hundreds of people came to him for their needs, and he gave generously. His wealth knew no bounds, yet his true richness was in wisdom. Great intellectual secrets were unveiled before him in an instant, astonishing the world. People marveled at his knowledge and insight, a living testament to the barakah of sincerity, devotion, and a teacher's heartfelt dua.